Hey everyone, so I just wanted to say some words on the Nintendo Switch 2. I watched the Direct and I had mixed feelings about it, and after the Direct, I found out more information about it, and things are not looking good. There's some blatantly greedy business practices that I'm gonna have to expose throughout the video. So, as you can see here, this is if you buy the Nintendo Switch 2, extra controllers, all the accessories, and Mario Kart. It's gonna cost you over €1,000, over $1,000. I'm European, so I say euro by default. Now, one of these accessories, which is the camera, is going to be extremely important for the Nintendo Switch 2 Discord thing. I'm just going to call it Discord because it's essentially Discord. You're going to have to pay for this because in order to use the Discord, you have to pay for the Nintendo Switch 2 online. So Discord, which you can download and use for free now, if you buy the Nintendo version, I just said it, you're going to have to buy it, which is a lot worse than free. And we don't even know if it's going to have all the same features of Discord. We just know that you have to use Nintendo profile icons and stuff like that, which obviously I'm not a fan of because it's going to take away your expression. Because if you see my Discord profile pictures, they're all bangers. Anyway, here's another thing that is greedy, which I noticed Nintendo have copied from another company. When you had PlayStation 4 games and you brought them over to the PlayStation 5, some of those games would be upgraded for the PlayStation 5, but it would be upgraded for free. An example of this was when Ratchet and Clank for the PlayStation 4 was 30 FPS. And if you brought it to the PlayStation 5, it would be 60 FPS. Now, I remember that specific example because people were really up in arms about Ratchet and Clank being the original one being 60 FPS and the remake being 30 FPS, and how this is a disgrace. And then on PlayStation 5, they fixed it. It never should have been an issue, and Ratchet and Clank remake in particular is a game I have a lot of problems with. But that's not the point of the video. The point of this video is that Sony did something for free that Nintendo is going to charge you extra for. It's just another bad consumer practice business practice where they're screwing over the consumer. And it's not something they need to charge for, but they're going to charge for anyway. So that's one thing. And here's the biggest thing. The biggest thing is that a lot of games, modern games, are huge. And the 256 gigabyte size of the Nintendo Switch 2 internal memory is not good enough for modern day standards. I think that's done on purpose. And the reason I think that's done on purpose is because you're going to have to buy, when you run out of space, which is inevitable if you play a lot of games, you're going to have to buy a Nintendo specific micro SD card. And I actually had an old version of this. So this one here, I had one of these, right? Here's my review of that really quick. It was marketed as something that was going to be great for my Nintendo Switch. It was going to transfer data faster and blah, blah, blah. Had specific improvements that made up for the price because it was more expensive than all the other micro SD cards, even some of the micro SD cards that were a bigger size than this one. So I bought this and it was okay. It didn't really, live up to the standards that were promised. And eventually, Nintendo Switch 1 was kind of getting very outdated, and I didn't really want to play the Nintendo Switch because there was better alternatives, such as the Lenovo Legion Go, which the biggest downfall of the Lenovo Legion Go is the price. However, it's still much more, it's much cheaper than if you buy the Nintendo Switch 2 with all the accessories. It's not $1,000, right? Okay, so what I did was I used the micro SD card, the Nintendo branded one that was supposed to be super fast and brilliant and all that. And I put it into my Lenovo Legion Go, and I noticed that it wasn't downloading data as fast as I wanted it to. So because on Windows you can change the transfer speed of the SD cards, I tried to make it faster, and what happened was when I made it faster, it just burnt itself out, and now the micro SD card I had is just dead now. It doesn't work anymore. So yeah, I made that mistake. I'm never buying one of these Nintendo SD cards again because I feel completely scammed. They never actually lived up to the speed that was promised, even on Nintendo Switch hardware. So here is something I noticed about these cards. If you look here, this symbol 1, I'm pretty sure that this symbol is the download and transfer speeds of the cards. And this XC, I could be wrong on this. The XC, I think, is just a label. So if you look over here, the 1 is the same. Oh, shit. The XC is the same too. Oh, well, never mind. I was gonna say there's a possibility that this card is slower than this card, but it seems like it's guaranteed to be slower because all the symbols here are the exact same as this one. The only difference is the Express, which is, we know, is the brand. So what the Express label is it's just the way that Nintendo is gonna mark their cards so that they work for the Nintendo Switch 2. That is actually a bummer. I thought there was a possibility that Nintendo fans are not going to be scammed, but I think it's pretty much guaranteed that they're going to be scammed if they buy one of these cards, because all the info that's related to the speed is the exact same on the old card as it is the new card. That is not good. I have a micro SD card that is faster already than this old card, and it was cheaper than the old card. And I think this new card is going to be even more expensive than the old card. Yikes. Okay, so that is a big deal. I hope nobody buys those fucking cards. They are not worth it in my experience. And here is another big scam that I noticed Nintendo are trying to pull. So if you are one of those people who you buy the cartridges in order to save space on your Nintendo Switch, which is what I used to do when I had a Nintendo Switch because I wanted to play more games than just Smash Bros. And Mario Kart. You'd buy the cartridge because the cartridge wouldn't waste any space on your system, right? It wouldn't be like a download. That's no longer going to be the case, because with this new cartridge, let's read this. The game itself isn't included on the game key card, So you'll have to download it before you can play. In other words, you are going to have to download the game from these cards onto your Nintendo Switch, which is going to waste more of your storage, which goes back to this. You're going to have to buy a scam card no matter what you do. You're not going to have a means to avoid it. You're going to buy a Nintendo Switch 2 cartridges. They're basically going to be plastic download codes that fit inside your system. And you're going to have to download the game anyway. So there's no escape from these cards. If you plan on buying the Nintendo Switch and plan on buying multiple games for it, you're fucked. Yeah, that's the video. This is so shady, and I hope more people talk about this, because it's all just shit, and it's so greedy. All right, peace out.